All right, the next section is on lipids. The first of the types of lipids that we're going to talk about are called triglycerides. These are for long-term energy storage, so there's a function for you. Examples, fats and oils. And some of the characteristics that make fats and oils unique is that they are non-polar and they don't like water. They are hydrophobic because they are non-polar, meaning they don't have a difference in charge the way that water is a polar molecule. And so things that fit into that category with water where they're polar, where there's like a charge of plus and minus, they do well in water. But oils and fats are non-polar. They don't mix well with water. Triglyceride, we'll talk about this structure of triglycerides, but they're a glycerol, and then there are these really long fatty acid chains. There's a video kind of explaining the structure of triglycerides and the features or the different like characteristics of triglycerides, and it's like fats explained that. It's kind of cheesy, but it does a really good job of breaking it down, so make sure you watch that video. So it kind of talked about this a little bit, but polar molecules have a characteristic of being hydrophilic, which means they like to be around water. They mix well with water. Things dissolve into water. Well, if they are polar, and then non-polar molecules do not mix well with water. So it's a characteristic that you need to know about. So triglycerides are primarily a combination of glycerol molecule. That's what that looks like right there. So a hydrocarbon itself, glycerol is a smaller hydrocarbon. But then also attached to this glycerol molecule are these long chains. You can see the carbon is all chained together, and they're saturated with hydrogen. And the one that is not fully saturated is a little bit bent there at the bottom. And that, or let's see, gives a little bit of a sticky presence. Anyways, so saturated and unsaturated, lots of hydrogen in that setup. But there's one little unsaturated part. Fats, one of the characteristics of fats is that they insulate well. And I don't know what's going on with my picture there. It's looking pretty washed out. So anyways, we got that. You can see two examples of organisms that have a nice layer of fat on their body, and that helps to insulate them. Another example of lipids are phospholipids. These are a specialized molecule that has a polar head, a phosphorus head, and it has lipid tails. And these are the non-polar side of things. And so it has a side that likes water and a side that doesn't like water, and it helps them all to line up the same way. So you get the phosphorus on one side and the lipid chains on the inside, and they all line up in that arrangement, and that creates a membrane. It creates a barrier on either side of that arrangement, and this is what makes up your cell, the cell membrane, and it also makes up a lot of the membranes within the cell around a lot of the organelles. This allows for movement of molecules through this membrane, like we talked about today, a semi-permeable membrane. So far your notes should kind of talk about the energy storage that lipids provide, what is considered a lipid, and what do polar and non-polar, what does that mean? What does it mean for lipids? What makes up a triglyceride? What organelle is made up of lipids? And what are the two functions of lipids so far? All right, another example is waxes. Waxes are nonpolar. Waxes are typically used for structure, though. They are used to keep water in or out, and waxes are made of long fatty acid chains. Examples would include beeswax, or like you can see the waxy side of the cuticle of a leaf. Another example are cholesterols. These help in the structure of the phospholipid bilayer. So you see there's a little box around I guess it's around a cholesterol and a phospholipid, but down here labeled is a cholesterol molecule. This helps to keep the membrane fluid, meaning like it can move around, it doesn't fold over on itself, it doesn't become overly bonded together. And this allows animal cells to not need a cell wall because the structure itself comes from the cell. Steroids are another example of lipids that are specifically under this umbrella of cholesterol. Steroids and hormones are four ringed structures. So you can see the four rings there. And these are used in your body primarily as signals for a lot of different things, actually. So they are messages, they're chemical messages that are sent throughout the body. They're produced by animals and plants. Plants have hormones. And steroids are small so that they can cross over the phospholipid bilayer because they need to be able to travel through the membranes to deliver their messages. As you can see, this example is showing a steroid hormone that's coming through the phospholipid bilayer. It does not hurt that the lipids are hydrophobic as well as like the steroid hormone would be hydrophobic. And it passes through the plasma membrane. In here, there's a receptor that it joins with, and it tells like that is the signal basically for the body to start. In this case, some what do we got going on here? It looks like some protein synthesis of some kind of reading of genetic material. Hormone receptor complex binds to for there's to induce some change in gene activity. Um, there's lots of different examples about how a hormone would be used in the body. So far, your notes should include, whoops, let me go back. On the part about lipids, come on. All right, so far, the additional part of your notes should include what the purposes of waxes, cholesterols, and steroids are, and that the steroids or hormones are messengers. Oh, why do I keep yawning? And then it's important for you to pick out the five major functions of lipids from everything that we have gone through. And then I'm going to just skip that last one, the what essential life function or hormones most closely related to. We actually don't teach that part of biology anymore. So that's left over from years in the past. So that's your little bit on lipids.